Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Benedick Howard, and this is the eBody Fusion Hangout for today. Boy, it's September already, and oh, we've already had a hurricane come through last week. We've got a hurricane going through to the north of us. We've had lava flows going down the other side of the island. It's been quite a month, to say the least. And you know, with all of that activity, I'm sorry I'm a little late getting going today, and you know, had communication problems during the week, and so everything kind of like got slowed down a little bit. And today I have Chris on the call right now, so I'm going to dig in with Chris because he's got such a tremendous wealth of background working with sports people to very high gold medalist levels. So he's like an expert in this field, and he's been using microcurrent. And what we wanted to focus on today was the dramatic, the fast healing effects that you can use microcurrent for with acute and chronic situations. Also, we have joining us later on will be Sean, and he had a major wreck. He was a mountain biker before he got into the Bikram yoga, and he broke several he'll tell you more about it, but it's a really nasty wreck that he had earlier on. And even though he went through all of the Bikram stuff and he became a Bikram teacher, which is a huge feat just in itself, he still had massive pain. But after we introduced him to microcurrent, he has resolved that. And this is going to be interesting because it's going to be about 2 years since that happened. So that'll be an interesting sort of catch up on what's been happening there too. Also joining us hopefully will be Ray, and he's currently in training with me with new DENAS PCM 6, and we've found some interesting things. And because of his background and because of the way that he asks me questions, he's going to be a dynamic person to listen to as well. So we're going to run this webinar, this hangout, for another 25-30 minutes, and then I'm going to stop and take a break, and then we're going to start another one later on. So we have Chris, and I know that he needs to get off to his clients here and keep busy, and he's very graciously come to join us today. And thank you, Chris, for coming on.
My pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah,
yeah, cool. Hey, you've had your hair cut, man. That looks good.
Cut it off. Cut it off.
Keeping cool, huh?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, let's catch up a little bit. Where do we start? I know that why I wanted to get you on right now is because basically at the end of this month, I believe you're going back to China, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to grab you before, you know, the communication problems happen in China and we don't get a chance maybe to talk for 6 months. And I know that you have a huge plan in planning, and you've told me little bits about it, and I am just like in awe of what you've got going there, Chris. And I know that you could only leak out little bits, little tidbits, but share what you can around microcurrent with your sports people and what your plan is.
Yeah, what my plan is first of all this coming season to deepen the knowledge and the handling of the microcurrent, and the one I got now, the ENART, and together with the PCM, the DENAS PCMs that I have, just to get more, yeah, I would say more efficient with athletes' problems right away on the court when they have aches and pains showing up during the game. To get rid of it, which I did last season. It worked out great. It worked out fantastic. What it did do for the athletes, according to to my previous experiences with injuries, it made a big difference in the speed of recovery, getting the athletes back on the court and working again, and just speeding up recovery, which is a tremendous help, as we probably all know, in that field, because it has to be quick and fast. You know, the faster the better.
Right, right. And so this gives, well, there's so many things that's happening when you get a sports or anybody back healthy again, but especially in your field. You know, I've been doing, actually, I wanted to actually pick your brains a little bit on that. As you probably know, I've been running more and more this year, and I've got to a stage where, well, we'll get back to that in a moment, but back to your guys. You know, what I've realized is that, you know, when you have an injury or when you have some disability, it really changes the whole mind game, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're injured and it takes you 3 weeks or 3 months to heal that injury, whereas maybe you could have done it in a week or even less, that whole mind game, that poor me mind game, or that suffering mind game, isn't going to be so prevalent. And so it's going to make you as a coach and as a trainer, your job kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it has a big impact on the, like you said, the mindset of the athletes. Because if they have an injury, of course, they want to go back on the court, but they can't, so they get kind of frustrated with their body, and because they cannot go. So the microcurrent and all the things that we do help them just dramatically to speed up the process there and get them back on it, which they love to do. And there's a lot of mentally, a lot of pressure on those guys, and to perform on the top level all the time, and to maintain that, you need to really dig into every resource possible. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, the microcurrent did a great job there in helping and supporting that last season.
Yeah, and we had, there was about a 20-minute piece that you talked in extensively. I think it was back in the May Hangout. And you talked extensively about, you know, the quickening of the healing times, your estimate. And it's kind of, I know it's really difficult to estimate how much quicker it is compared to what it would have been. Because it's like, right, you know, how are you going to have a control and how are you going to assess this? Right. And you were saying, you know, you were looking at the, you know, in a ballpark of it's healing those guys or getting them back on the track in half the time.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That's huge, yeah.
Right?
Right.
And in some situations, it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you have the whole spectrum. You have things where it's instantaneous and you get rid of the pain right away, and they can go normal movement patterns and they can play hard on the court right away. And others, you, like you said, you cut down the recovery time by half or more, which is also tremendous. And because, you know, you have like several games a week. So if they are out for a couple of weeks, you are missing, if it's a key player on the team, that's not, it's a very challenging situation for the team. So you want to get the people back into playing mode at the top peak level as fast as you can. And that's what we observed. That's what I learned. Yeah. Right.
You know, and it's like with the, you know, I've been reading other reports of other gold medalists, actually in Australia in particular, who've been using microcurrent, and they swear by it because, you know, it allows them when they're traveling to work on their hip or whatever it might be that's thrown out, or in their downtime they can do stuff for themselves to support it that doesn't need a therapist or a massage guy or a trainer to work on them. They can do a lot of that stuff themselves too.
Yeah.
You know, and the other beauty of this is it's like dirt simple to apply. And you've got, I don't know if you have it handy there, but you've got the brand new ENART 911. Maybe if you have it handy there, could you show that to us?
Hold on, just a sec.
Now, this unit is the top of the line unit. It is not inexpensive. In fact, it's very expensive. It's like $3,000. And in a situation like with Chris, as a trainer working with, you know, top athletes, he has now graduated from the PCM series, which was made by DENAS. Oh, here we go.
There it is.
There it is. So it's got the curved electrodes. It's got the LED screen on it. Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, really nice.
Now I see that they've got more distance between the casing and the electrodes underneath it, which to me is good, because you can you can get in there to clean it with a Q-tip or something. That's
Right.
that's even better.
Yeah, it's good.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And those are stainless steel, or those are, I think they're the stainless electrodes.
Stainless steel, and it's really nice and handy. So it's really it's very nice to work with.
Right. So let's just share a bit about Chris's path with this, because he trained with me extensively for, like, I think it was 3 months last year, and on the PCM6. And he asked me all of the right questions. And when people ask me good questions, I can come up with great answers too. And it was through that training that Chris got really confident at using it with your guys.
Yeah.
And saw the results. And just so people understand, there's a difference between what Chris is doing with athletes who are super fit relative to the general population who would have more of a chronic situation, and it's going to take more time for them to charge up the batteries and all of that effect the microcurrent does. And we've talked about that extensively in other hangouts over the last 6 months. But the long, thick, and short of it is that, I'm going to just switch just to me for a moment, Chris. The long, thick, and short of it is that the electricity goes in there, and it's kind of like when there's a damaged area or there's a compromised area, wherever it may be, and this could be any of the tissues in the body, it charges them up with electricity. And what that does is it increases the ability of the body to handle whatever it was. Plus, and this is the huge plus, is that the microcurrent signal mimics the signal coming down the brain, the nerve fibers from the brain. So in that sense, it's natural and organic to the body. And also, and this is the huge one, which is the game changer, not only is it going to take the pain away, but it creates the neuropeptide mixes, recipes, that can rebuild the degenerated tissue very quickly. My dear mom, she's passed on now. She was due for a hip replacement. I gave her one of the units, she put it on her hip, and the pain went away, and she didn't need the hip replacement. So that's what this technology can do. It's been around super long time, since the 80s, and for the reasons of not being any money for the pharmaceutical people, it's never gone out there, and it's hardly known. So, you know, Chris, you're one of the early guys in the sports arena, but I do remember years ago reading a report of ultramarathoners in the Ukraine knocking huge amount of time off their, I think it was a 1,200 kilometer run that they were doing back then when they were testing this out. And by the end of those days of that 1,200 click run, the people that were doing the massage people were no longer busy. It was the people with the microcurrent devices called Scanner and DENAS, etc., that were keeping busy, because they gave more results more quickly to the people than you can get with massage. So it's a no-brainer, and that's what you're finding there too, Chris, right? Because you do a lot of body work too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you find. I mean, it's a constant, even if they don't have issues now. I mean, some of the players, they just love to put it on in the downtime, traveling time. You have a lot of traveling time, sitting on the bus or in the planes, where they can put it on and recharge the body. And if they have problem areas, and be more focused on those areas. And there's basically no downtime for them, because we have to travel anyway. So we use the time for recovery, for the athletes. So it's a win-win. So it's a very efficient way to incorporate that into the life of a professional athlete.
Right. And should they be injured, or should they tear or begin to tear a muscle or be in pain on the field during the heat, or during a race, or during what do you call it, competition, you can quickly get them back, and that's huge too. Because what I know from my own body is that, and this is how I got into this whole sports thing originally, is that I didn't understand how I was I had been trained by the Russians, and it was kind of like they held back on the amount of time that they recommended that we use to apply the devices. And then over the years, actually way over the years, it's now been 14 years or something, we have, for chronic situations, we apply it for a long time. In fact, there's nothing, there's no bad effects from over application, because the signal is natural to the body in the first place. And once you get those areas charged up to their working voltage, then the thing, the body takes over, and it's kind of like charging up a rechargeable battery can only take so much charge, and then it's full. The body is the same. So it's really cool that way too. What's the most dramatic experience that you've seen with this technology, Chris?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, if I just look back to last season, there were different injuries and things that happened, and instantaneous results. One of the, because it wasn't a normal injury, one of the players just fell and slid on the floor and basically had the hand at the thumb area, at the thumb pad, or the whole skin was off. And there was just the lowest layer of the skin, very thin, raw, was open. And usually that takes quite a while to heal. But I thought, okay, let's see what the PCM does there. And he used the PCM, and within a few days, you could just see the skin coming back and growing back so fast. It was just amazing how fast it came back. You could wow. See every day. You could see every day the change on the skin, how it grow back, and that was pretty amazing to see, because you actually had a visual to see the changes from day to day using the PCM on that area. Yeah.
You know what? That reminds me of the guy on YouTube that I put up there. He had like massive burns down his arm. They were third-degree burns. And the very next day, I mean, we took all the pain out. He had no pain during the whole process. 12 days later, it had scabbed over. All the scabs had come off, and there was zero scarring. But what was interesting, on the day one, I remember going in there, and with a magnifying glass, you could just see the new cell growth around the edge. And then it started to grow over that day. And then it grew right back over within like 2 or 3 days, I think it was.
Right, yeah.
And like you're saying, you can literally see it happen before your eyes. It's astounding. Yeah, astounding technology. Great, Chris. And so when do you go back to China?
Yeah, I go back the very end of September, like I said, and getting ready and be in China for the season. Yeah, so I will be there October 1st at the latest. Will be there.
Wow, that is so phenomenal. That's great. And then you're there for the season, which is up till Christmas time?
Up to March next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right. You told me that. Yeah, I was wondering what the season was. Right. Okay. So you're going to be back in the States probably then? Probably
by April. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that we'll look forward to catching up with you then, Chris. And
and what news I have to, what news stories I have to share with you.
Right. And just for somebody who is, considering one of the ENARTs, what would be the major characteristic that works for you with that ENART, which prompted you to purchase
the new one? The 9-1, it's just amazingly fast in how it gives feedback, and when you are at an area where they have pain or the injury is located, it's just very fast to scan the whole area and to dose the exact areas needed. It's just much faster than the PCM, the DENAS PCM, and that just makes it just so handy. And because it's so fast, it's just the speed is just fast. You put it on, you get the number, and you go from spot to spot and recharge the areas, and it makes a huge difference.
Right. So it's like for you, it's super critical that you get that person back on that track as soon as possible.
Right. That's the whole goal.
Saving that 5-10 seconds, which is the quick is the, okay, so that listeners understand what you mean by fast. Using the ENART, you can get instant readings.
Yeah.
Using the PCM, it takes 4 or 5 seconds to get that reading. Then you have to change things around. But the ENART automatically moves it to the next one.
Exactly.
So for Chris's work, or anybody that's in a professional practice that really understands what goes on here, it really makes a huge difference to have that, because it's bang, bam, 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 bam. There's the spot, and then you put it on there, and you charge that area up.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you were coming into this again, Chris, and I just, I'm going to expose myself here, because I did sell you on the PCM to begin with.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure if this thing was going to work for you or not, right?
Right.
And you wanted to train with an expert, and that's what I came, that's why you came to me. What would your recommendation be for somebody who's a sports coach, or, a sports therapist, or somebody who's working with clients like yours? What would your recommendation be for them? How to get the training, to know that they what to do, etc., etc.
I mean, the main thing is to have somebody like you coaching them through the understanding process of how to use it and how to use it most efficiently, be it the DENAS PCM or the ENART. I mean, that's key. You don't want to spend a lot of time finding out yourself. You want to have an expert like you who can guide you in the process, and so you become efficient right away. And I felt, after going through your training, I felt confident right away to use it on my athletes, and pretty much had an idea on what to do. And then it's just a matter of doing it and getting the experience and actually seeing the results, and that gives you then even more confidence in the actual technology that we are talking about. But the most important is the guidance, and you sharing your experience and expertise.
Yeah, well, thank you for that feedback. And just so that listeners are aware of this, Chris is not using just ENART with his clients, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just one of the tools in your tool bag that you can use for that type of situation.
Yeah.
I know a lot about Chris's work, and he is a phenomenal, studied and intuitive guy that really knows and understands how to get results from people, at all different levels. From you brought back that one swimmer who had been retired, and you brought him back to get 3 golds last summer in the Russian Games, right?
The Russian World Championship, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is such a huge feat just in itself, and kudos to you, Chris, for being able to pull that off.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was interesting situation. Yeah.
Right, because the guy had ripped, what was it? Something up in his shoulder.
He had just tremendous shoulder pain, and he couldn't train anymore. He went to Australia training. He had the top coaches and everything, but he couldn't really train because of the pain. They couldn't do the volume necessary to prepare him for the World Championship on that year. And they tried everything. He went to different therapists in Australia and to different doctors. Nobody seemed to be able to figure out what's going on. And the last resort would have been to rest him for a few months, which would have probably meant the end of his career. Because swimmers, it's a very unique kind of field. The swimmers, if they are not in the water on a daily basis, they're usually never out of the water more than a week, and otherwise they lose the feeling for the water, they say. I never had a swimmer before. I just look at movement patterns and analyze that. So when he came to me, I just basically did soft tissue techniques, deep in the shoulder and the scapular, and the pain went away. Yeah, and then I just, of course, had to do maintenance work to, to guide him through the training process with all the volume. They have tremendous volume in hours in the water a day, and it worked out great for him. And he through the process, even training and going to the World Championship, he managed to recover his shoulder, basically. Yeah.
That is phenomenal. Yeah, thank you for the work you do, Chris. It's absolutely phenomenal. You're the go-to guy for all of these people, and what you have in your plans for the next couple of years um, just is going to blow this whole industry wide open in China. You know,
Yeah,
should
it will
those
be
plans and should everything be
very.
supported for that to manifest?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very exciting to see what is possible in that field. Yeah.
Right, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see some of the results and keep in touch. So yeah, let's plan on keeping in touch, and looking forward to getting further news from you, and any updates my end, I'll pass them on to you too. So
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you,
Absolutely,
and thank you
absolutely.
for
Looking
coming
forward
today.
to sharing new stories and new things from the season. Yeah.
Right, I know you got to go and get busy
Yep.
with your clients and keep them running. So I'm gonna let you go now, and then I'll move on to the next person. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Chris.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, that is absolutely phenomenal to have Chris, take the time with us to share his information, share his news, and to bring this to us. And because, these guys are busy, they're working with gold medalists. These are not, these are, I don't know what these, these individuals are worth in terms of like sports and money and all of that stuff. But just to be able to facilitate, all of the work that a sports person does to get fit. And I've made 2016, my motto has been make 2016 the year to get really healthy. And I've been doing the cardiovascular stuff, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, I went out for a run this morning. It's like hot and muggy there this morning. It didn't go far, 3 miles. And I came back absolutely drenched. And, so the body is like detoxing, and I feel really, really powerful doing that. My partner, she's been actually following in my shoes too, and I catch her running up the hill and down and coming up and down behind me, and we cross paths on the way up and down. It's like, and I've seen her go from like having years ago massive respiratory issues, which the microcurrent phenomenally helped with when she was living in LA. And we got to a place where, but it was ongoing. It was still ongoing, and the same for me. I had respiratory issues too as a kid, and then for some reason, maybe it's chemtrails, I don't know. For some reason, I started getting asthma again about 2 years ago, even here in Hawaii, and I couldn't understand it because I had been clear of asthma for several decades at that time, and because of that, I had to go to a doctor, which I normally don't do, and they gave me some inhalers, and now I've been able to breathe properly and get the full breath. And yeah, X-ray wise, I have COPD, but hey, we can move beyond that. And with this type of technology, there is so much it does to boost the immune system, to balance the brain waves. There's frequencies in those the PCM and the ENART high-end units that we can do brainwave activity too. We can do all the brainwaves. We can harmonize the brain and the hemispheres and stuff. And it's like there's not that much that we can't do with those units, and they're so handy and they're so available. So I wanted to make this a little quicker than normal, and so I'm going to end out here on this call, and that way you can just like listen to this later on, or get it to catch it on Facebook. Please like my page if you're on Facebook and you see it there. And if you would like to learn more about what this can do for you, go to ebodyfusion.com, and that's ebodyfusion.com, and there's an assessment page, a free assessment that you can do there. So grab that, and we can see if this can work for you or not. So aloha, my name is Benedick Howard. It's been fabulous being here with you today, and all the best for the month. Aloha.